got love for you, man. You know what I'm saying?
What are we talking about? You know, I'm not here to start any trouble.
I'm only going to say nice things about you from now on. I think you're handsome, and I think you're a wonderful host.
I'm fat and I'm overweight. Just don't say anything silly.
I was waiting for you to say that.
I'm not laughing about it. You think this is funny? I take it serious.
You know, I don't want y'all to take anything out of context that I'm saying.
He's very funny. He likes to joke around a lot.
As a personality and as an entertainer, yes.
This is going to be really quick. I'm not taking any questions.
Go ahead and get comfortable. I'm going to talk for a little bit.
You're listening to Cabbie Presents, the podcast.
Welcome to My Guy Mondays. Thank you, Rod Smith. I love that, dude. My name is Cabbie Richards. I'm your host. Sorry about last week's My Guy Mondays. It was Thanksgiving here in Canada, so nobody was available to record for last week. I mean, people were still in tryptophan comas for like 18 hours. But we're back this week. The Indianapolis Colts have an underrated defense. And the defense, which sacked Peyton Manning 4 times, deflected a pass and was intercepted. Manning has now thrown 3 interceptions in 3 straight games, or interceptions in 3 straight games. The defense was punctuated by punter Pat McAfee laying out Holiday for the Denver Broncos. That's the only part of the game I'm going to talk about. My guy is going to end up on Come On Man. He should end up on Come On Man. Pat McAfee, punter for the Colts, for laying out Holiday early in the game. I think in the first quarter, second quarter, was on a punt return. And, man, that dude should have got more props. He didn't get enough props from his teammates once, like, the hit was laid. Like, I wanted to see guys jump all over him. He didn't get that, but I'm sure when he went to the bench, he got the appropriate head smacks and butt taps. Congrats to the Boston Red Sox and the St. Louis Cardinals for advancing to the World Series. Why are baseball games so long in the playoffs? They're like 4 hours. I don't know how the Red Sox beat that starting rotation in Detroit. Same thing with the Cardinals hitters beating that rotation in LA. It should be awesome. I'm going to tell a Boston Red Sox story next My Guy Mondays because I have a jam-packed show for you. 3 distinctly different conversations, a couple of new guys to the rotation, all old friends, and we speak right now. And you will hear a new jingle, and I have to give mad props to Robbie Gibson out in Edmonton. He's known as Robbie the Intern for Virgin Radio. But shout out to Robbie Gibson, who created this.
It's his favorite day. What could make Cabbie feel this way? My guy, my guy, my guy. Talking about My Guy Mondays.
Leading off My Guy Mondays, one of the most talented comedians in our country. This dude is just traveling coast to coast. And my first interaction with Gilson Lubin was in the MTV days. And I actually went by to interview you about interview techniques. Wasn't that the first time?
You're kidding, right?
And you had that story about Snoop.
You're kidding. Tell me you're kidding right now. You
Wasn't
did
that the
not
first
go
time?
there to interview me about, but interview techniques as in like, Gilson, that's funny. How do you interview someone? You didn't mean like because I actually have interview skills though, right?
Well, no, yeah, it was your own
Have
experiences.
you seen my interview? Oh, my own experiences. Okay, that makes more sense.
And
okay.
and we were just so this is like 06, maybe 07.
It was actually 06. It was summer of 06.
Yeah, and we were out there on Yonge Street, and I was interviewing you.
Do you
about,
remember what happened? Do you remember?
Yeah, I think you had a thing about Snoop Dogg, and like you asked him a question, and then the whole thing went sour.
Oh, Snoop? Not with Snoop.
It wasn't with Snoop? Was it?
No, Snoop was good. Snoop was encouraging. I actually wanted to be more of a journalist because of a couple of comments he made.
Oh.
Here's what was a couple of things.
What the hell am I thinking of? Because I thought I had ones that were like bad experiences, but then also good ones.
But I have had interviews that I like. I haven't done a lot of interviews or a ton of interviews. I got the briefing on, a little bit of grooming on doing interviews, and the interviews that I thought would go a little bit, I was like Wyclef, for example. I was like, I got stuff in common with Wyclef. I have like his albums.
Right.
I know Creole. I know some Creole.
I'm from the islands.
I'm from the islands, but not just that. Not a lot of Creole artists, period. So the parts in his songs where it's Creole, I actually know a good bit of it. So for that connection, I was excited to meet him. There was no handler that day, so I thought it would be an easier conversation. With
Wyclef.
Yeah, with Wyclef.
So what happened?
Not like he did anything bad, but he never once. He probably looked at me. Well, he got into some of the questions, but it was so uncomfortable that I never got to ask him a lot of the questions I had in mind because he had his head down on his phone and he almost looked like
he was disinterested.
Yeah, extremely disinterested. Even before we even spoke, like even on Go. So not that he's bad. Keep in mind, he's one of my favorite artists, right? You know
but
what I mean?
Still, like your experience with the dude kind of sucked.
I was looking forward to it, So that was a bit of a letdown in a way for me.
Okay, so on the Neil Brennan podcast, Praz was on for like an hour. Neil Brennan's podcast called The Champs. It's him and Moshe Kasher. I've never met him.
Oh, okay. All right.
I've
so
only listened to him.
I wouldn't be offending you. He doesn't.
No, I've never met him.
Not that I know him, but I'm a huge Dave Chappelle fan.
Okay, so tell the story. Okay, so on that, so in that conversation with Praz, he talks about how Wyclef and Lauryn Hill and Wyclef's wife had a whole like love triangle, and that was the reason.
Broke it up. Well, that sounds super true.
They caught feelings, and obviously, and Praz was in the middle because Wyclef would go to Praz about stuff, and then Wyclef would go to Praz. Or sorry, Lauryn Hill would go to Praz. Wyclef would go to Praz, and he was totally the middleman because there's only 3 people in the group. I remember hearing, this is after I met you, this might have been 07 or 08.
Yes.
Dave Chappelle comes to town.
Yes.
And the person, and he does 2 shows at Massey Hall or something like that. But the person people were talking about was you. I heard from so many different people. Gilson's set, or the guy that opened for Dave Chappelle's set was fire.
You know what? I'm gonna stop. Not like, but I had a good set. And here's I was just watching. I have a little bit of stand up coming up. I was hanging out with a writer friend, John Steinberg, and we were just. Actually, Russell Peters said this guy's probably going to be the next funniest guy out of here. Everyone has their own markets, but John Steinberg, he does CBC Debaters and just crushes, right? So I was over there and watching Russell Peters is a documentary on
Notorious on Netflix.
Notorious.
Yeah.
And one of the there's the lady from Detroit. Or basically, there's so much I learned. Like, Russell would be the first. I don't know Russell as well as majority of people. The point I was going to get at is that we're talking about stand-up and the pressure that there is not on the opening act.
Oh.
And especially when you do not expect him.
Right.
I have I could go there and just bomb. Not like I would. And if you do bad, they don't remember you. If you do well, they'll remember you, right? My first inspiration, Dick Gregory.
Dick Gregory, right, yeah.
Phenomenal.
Right.
Civil activist as well. And then there's Bill Cosby. But I got basically introduced to very clean comedy growing up in kind of like a religious...
Household,
raised by the grandma in St. Lucia.
Right.
Yeah, and man, so first time seeing Richard Pryor, nothing connected. I was just like, I could care less. Didn't hate, just couldn't register even the words because all I'm hearing is a swearing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
was that the same for Eddie Murphy? When you saw Delirious or Raw?
No, I did not. Here's a lot of people who grew up on Eddie Murphy are like it came out in like 80.
Delirious was 83, Raw 83? Was 87 or 88.
Yeah, 87 or 88. So the strange thing is I actually moved to Canada in 88.
Okay.
So I did not know about a lot of things, including a lot of stand-up. But the thing going back to Dave Chappelle was, I'm hearing about who I like, Dick Gregory. I was like, hey, I get into that. And when I first seen Dave Chappelle, right, I was watching Def Jam. I was probably about 19. Keep in mind, he's like close to, my age. I'm in like late 30s now, right? Not super late, but I'm not 20-something.
Yeah.
I'm a grown man. I got so much. Anyways, but so I seen Dave Chappelle do HBO Def Jam, and he did a bit And I know you interview a lot of people. You got to mix listeners here, Cabbie, but this was an interesting bit. And it caught my attention because of the my timing coming into North America. I was like, wow, this guy is doing social commentary. I didn't even know it was called social commentary back then, but I was stunned, and I was just staring, thinking, you could do that?
What was the bit? Do you remember?
It was on hey, this is all jokes here, guys, but it was all on the N-word, right?
Okay.
But what I liked about it, what was so clever, was not just that I was laughing so hard, but just the wordplay. And the bit was just he surveyed the crowd. He's like, how many of you guys here would be offended if you were called the N-word by anybody else other than a black person? And the crowd's like, yeah, man, they going off. It's like, I used to be like you guys. And he's like, until I thought about it, so I was like, who decided that word would make black people pissed off for the rest of history? What they have, like a big meeting? Then it goes into like 5 or 6 or who knows how many characters. But not only that, but the writing of how he snuck into it. Like, how would you guys feel? Like, I used to be like you guys, which I'm a huge fan of writing, even if I'm not a good writer. I love writing. My sister, does a lot, English lit, so whatever. So, just caught my attention. I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. But what caught my attention about it was the fact that it was social commentary, like my comedy, I try not to put it, not like out of control, but believe it or not, I'm one of the few comics. I definitely don't want everybody to hear my comedy. Doesn't make sense, but I am not trying to become, I have too many opinions, so it's just whatever.
Oh, okay.
So it really connected.
Okay, but most comics are opinionated, no? They're not just telling jokes for...
I make people sad, bro. Like, I've had instructors be like, Gilson, they got to relate, and I feel sorry for you. I was like, it's my life. They don't. But it's a long story short, connected to it, and I was like, man, I would really love to do stand-up. And one day, so happens in Toronto, they were maybe filming Half-Baked, and I was at the Eaton Center.
Which Neil Brennan and Dave Chappelle wrote that when they're both 23 or 24 years old. I don't think Neil directed it, but he wrote it.
Did he write on it? I don't know much about Neil.
I think they wrote it together. I think
they've had a history, right? Oh yes, they did. Maybe.
Yeah, they met when they were like 18 in New York.
That's right, and we, you connect to, is the extra connection. Except for I want to be a comic, right? This is a good story. This is worth it, and long story short, cinema at Eaton Center at a Foot Locker at Eaton Center upstairs, and I'm with some friends who were coming from school. I'm like, yo, that's Dave Chappelle, and all my friends are like. My one friend literally said this. My friend goes, no, it's not, because the dude don't have the gap like the dude in the movie. I'm like, all right, you got to stay here. I'm going to go talk to him. You really need to not show up. And he was just a gentleman, so nice. Like, he's like, and it was Dave Chappelle, so just laughing, and he had his hand out of his hood. He's like, what's up, fellas? Give us a little grab. So he's just like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean?
Gilson just did an impression of Dave Chappelle. He's like skinny, but he's got these like little, I don't know.
You could see it though, right? What's up, fellas?
Yeah.
I actually could do a pretty good impression of a few people, but it's spot on, and to the point where I feel guilty. I'm like, oh, that's awkward. But anyways,
it's only awkward if you do Dave Chappelle, and he doesn't react positively. That would be when it would become awkward.
Yeah. So I got to an open for him, so I felt no pressure. I was excited.
How did you get to open for Dave Chappelle?
Because of 3 people, but mostly Russell Peters. So Russell Peters, Maureen Tarrant, who is my, she used to assist Dave, when she started off managing, and so there's that connection. Plus, I had some good years. I was kind of on fire. To be honest, I was really on fire. So
like here in Toronto or in Canada, just like on the comedy scene, like people.
In general?
Your name was.
In general, I had a no fear attitude because.
No, but how were you on fire? Like just people started to like you're getting more opportunities.
I got a lot of, the reason why I could honestly say that I got good. Not great. There's no such thing as the best, but I got good enough because of the extra stage time I got, thanks to people like, Kenny Robinson or Russell Peters, because or I keep saying his name, but any comic in this country would say the same thing, right? It got me shoes when I didn't have, my rent was $238 in 2002 or something, and dude gave me shoes, and like it's a long story how.
Russell did? Kenny did.
Rent, stage time, and they help you out. But long story short, I was on fire.
We will have to get to that story. I want to hear more of your origin story, but
I opened for him.
Wait, but you still haven't explained. You said Russell helped you. Did Russell, did Maureen say, okay, we need an opening act? Dave's doing 2 shows.
So there was this thing that
Toronto.
he's coming to Canada, right?
Okay, yeah.
And way before I got to open for him, Russell knew I was a huge fan of him and Bill Cosby. Like, I didn't have a lot of goals. I said, I would love to meet Bill Cosby. I got to meet Bill Cosby. I would love to meet Chappelle. And then I thought, that'd be crazy if I opened for him, right? So I was already in like a dream world. And so getting to open for him, you know, I had won some competitions before. So,
okay.
Like, I won like 3 of them. No, I won like, but I was just like, you know, I didn't have half an hour or an hour set, but I did have a very tight 7, and I had a really good 30. And for you to be promoted back then in the Yuck Yuck structure, you had to be good enough that if you did your 7-minute set, graduated to the weekends, you have to follow guys who from go to end, they're not going to not get a laugh, and it just gets crazier. So when I started off, I would see Russell Peters, Mike Wilmot, this guy, a lot of Nikki Payne, Ron Jossel. I was just seeing killers. Sean Majumder. I cannot think of just Harlan Williams would come through. Sometimes you see Chris Rock would come into the room. You look in on some really great comics. And I'm watching these guys all day, and I didn't have a so-called home at the time, so I spent a lot of time in comedy clubs. At the time when you could not find 27 or 36 shows a month to perform, I would find it because I had nothing else to do. It was amazing. So I got an edge on a lot of comics because, you know, for whatever reason, the time I had to spend, not just the free time, but being taken on the road with all these comics, way before I was ready. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So in like 2 years or like a year later, like just last, so I constantly had to like slow things down, just to be like, whoa, I'm not that good. You know, I got like 10 minutes and they didn't know. But I really took time with the little slow growth for me.
So, okay, so then at what point do you get the call or you are alerted that, hey, you're going to open
wait a minute. I'm on MTV. Maybe that's why. But Just for Laughs called and said, ask who, so how did I get to do this? And I got different stories, you know, and Def Jam was going around that time, so a lot of people were, you know, like...
So a lot of different people were saying your name.
Yeah.
Just for Laughs, Yuck Yucks.
Yeah, and Russell told me way after, he's like, you know, I told them about you for that. I was like, oh, because they told me that Just for Laughs did. And so, you know, but one of those things.
So all these
just
people
in case he ever hears this, which you know...
all these different people are trying to take credit for giving you your shot with Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, so I was just like, all right, whatever it is. And the second time I felt awkward because I'm like, I just wanted to present the show, the first show, but when I was walking out on stage, I got booed off the bat, and I, you know, it gets you excited. It's like, yeah!
So the second of the 2 nights, this very first time you opened for
The very first time I opened for him in 2007 or 8, whatever it was.
2, yeah.
Yeah, but I got heckled coming out, and he's not there, so he's not seeing the show. So I was like, wait a minute, dude, you can't heckle me here. I don't care. So I just destroyed this dude immediately. Finished business. And as long as there was no complaints, like fast, like I worked on so many. It's just not.
I just read a great article about Dave Chappelle in this online I think it's Believer.com, and this lady. I'm gonna.
And Dave Chappelle said I had 2 magnificent sets. Made me feel good.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. And just kind of talked about his background and like one of maybe his most famous characters, and maybe this kind of tells what kind of person you are if you really identify with this particular character. I think this is the Clayton Bixby character. He's the blind white supremacist who doesn't know that he's black.
What a story!
That character is based on his grandfather.
Is it based on his grandfather?
Yeah, Dave Chappelle's grandfather was blind.
You know, I don't know if I'm nosy, but or the coincidence. Really?
Yeah, Dave Chappelle's grandfather's blind, and at the time that Dr. King, so Dave Chappelle's grandfather's blind, but he had fair skin. He looked Greek. So the day that Dr. King was assassinated in 1968, he was on a bus in like Kansas City or something, and on the bus he could hear these black people talking about how they're going to get this white man. He was blind. He didn't know that they were talking about him as the white man. So he happened to survive that thing on the bus, or that situation, or avert that situation on the bus. And then when he told Dave, that was the basis for Clayton Bixby as the blind white supremacist who doesn't know that he's black. Okay, so when we were texting a couple of weeks ago, you were out of town, you were in Vancouver, and you were doing some comedy. And earlier you said you're working with John Steinberg because you have some comedy coming out. What is that comedy that you have coming out?
Oh, Cabbie is curious. I've been working really hard, man. Like I've been working really hard, but very quietly. I kind of had to. It works better for me. I work better that way. And, oh, man, I've been working really hard. I've been doing some corporate laying low, but found a lot of places to perform and do some kind of like, I really like it. I went out to this one place just 3 days ago, and I had a set, like, a kind of set I haven't had in, like, about 5 years. So I was feeling really good. I've had a mixed crowd coming out to some shows when I do them. Not like a lot of people. I do a little small thing. But I'll have people who see me do corporate to people who have practice rooms in, you know, like a bar or whatever, or my family. And such a mixed crowd. So what I do is I've been putting on other comics who have been helping me out. So that way I don't have to do the long set as I learn to figure out how do I even grow here, you know? Because before I was used to a crowd who didn't know me. So if I did bad and I get off stage, they could care less. So I might as well not care about them. So it caused me to have better shows because I put my conscience aside. But when you have your family and everyone coming out, it's like, oh, guys, so what are you guys up to? And trying to almost learn a new language, which was, and every part of everything I'm saying in comedy is fun for me. Like, you know, it's my own little thing.
So now, what it sounds like to me is like there's pressure now because the audiences know who you are and they have a certain expectation.
Oh my gosh, man! Like I remember what people have seen. Like I did I saw an open mic. You gotta stay sharp. And my friend who passed away, R.I.P. Casey Arthur, he ran this room. So I would go there specifically because he did, and it encourages whatever. And some guy came up to me after the shit, was like, wow. He's like, wow. He just kept saying wow. I was like, what's
wow
wrong?
In a good way or a bad way? Like
bad way.
Oh, wow, like it was terrible.
He's like, yeah. I was like, what's up? But I'm just trying stuff. I don't even know what's going on. I'm just goofing around, trying to feel comfortable on stage and with people. By the way, very funny. I saw NBA TV. Hilarious, Cabs. Hilarious you are.
What did I?
But anyways,
I didn't do
NBA
what?
TV. Check out Cabs. But
whatever.
But the guy's like, yo, man, I've heard a lot about you, and I gotta say, wow, I'm very disappointed.
Wow, to your face, like bold like that?
And that has happened more than once.
Wow, because people do that on Twitter.
You don't have to practice.
Right. Okay. Well, see, I guess that's part of the expectation.
You don't get to
that's
grow.
Crazy. Yeah.
And it's cool because there's that improvisational skill, but sometimes you're writing something specific that night, or you're trying to figure out something.
Yeah.
You know. But anyways, but that same one of the guys who said that though, he seen me somewhere else at one of the Chappelle shows, and he was like, "Man, I'm very, you know, the same one you were talking about."
He was so this is the other experience. So this guy was very complimentary, or was he also saying
the same guy who said it was bad happened to be at the Chappelle thing after,
and then said what?
Oh, he was just like, that's. He
like, wanted to make out with you.
Yeah,
he wanted to make out with you.
A little bit of lip wrestling, just a little, not much.
You want to know what your tongue felt like? Okay, so when are we going to hear or see this new comedy? Because you've been in the lab for a little bit. You're right. You went underground and you're just working. You're taking shots in the gym when nobody's awake.
Here's what's good is that I just finally put a website together. I'm so clumsy. I need so much help around me. But I put a little website together that I'm gonna put some stuff on there. And I'll just put what I think they could handle.
Okay.
Because people go to the sites, man.
They do, of course.
Yeah,
because they want to digest more about you.
I get a lot of CBC followers, so they go to the site. So the stuff I could do, I can't put it on there anyways. So I'm actually doing another site, and actually,
like it was one clean and one like one.
Yeah.
One's
and
clean
the other one, and the other one is just gonna be starting from scratch with try to build mostly audio, actually, believe it or not.
Okay.
It sounds messed up.
No.
But I do not have time to get hated on, you know, or whatever. Dude, like, and guess where the hate comes from? Your peers, not even from people who are listening, which shocked me.
People are jealous of your success.
So that's actually one of the main reasons why I was like, I'm just gonna get away from here.
Okay, is there a site right now? Is it
GilsonLubin.ca?
Okay, GILSONLUBIN.ca.
But here's the thing, I said.
Is there stuff on there now?
Yes.
Perfect.
It's only been up for about a week now.
Okay.
But here's the thing, I'm bad with this. A guy from Japan, if you're hearing this, Japan. No. Like the guy's listening.
There might be a Japanese dude who listens to this, but maybe not someone from Japan.
Even if you are listening, you still can't help me. because I lost GilsonLubin.com. I was like, how come I can't get it? And it's somewhere in Japan, and now I gotta wait till next month, so I might be changing it over back to .com.
So wait, there's a squatter in Japan who's got GilsonLubin.com?
Yeah, he doesn't know it's not worth nothing. Wait till he finds out.
Well, hey, maybe he's been doing his reconnaissance. Like, I found a diamond in the rough, and then this is going to blow up because people are naturally going to go to .com.
Yep.
Gilson Lubin.
Man, awesome. I don't know how much time we have, but we were done basically, right? So I'm going to say thank you.
My Guy Monday.
The last time I saw this man, we were at a golf course in, I think, Maple, Ontario, or King. We're in the suburbs of Toronto, and he was raising tens of thousands of dollars for his local kayaking club.
Canoe club,
Canoe club.
Yeah.
And just being it was awesome. And you're just an unbelievable host. Adam Van Koeverden. Before we get into the topic of our conversation, what high school did you go to again?
I went to St. Ignatius Loyola High School in Oakville.
And that was a Catholic school?
It was a Catholic school. Still is a Catholic high school. Yeah.
So how much hotter were the girls? So you're like, the hotness for girls in your experience was different than the average like Canadian male because you went to a Catholic school. And girls invariably look hotter in Catholic school uniforms than just regular everyday wear. Unless it's the beach.
I think that's a stereotype, but possibly. The one thing that I
think you're right, though. It is a stereotype.
I think the girls at Catholic school or the girls at public school or whatever, private school, they are the same girls. Obviously, they're the same young women. But there was like a competition. They always fought to have their kilts higher because like up their knees. I mean, right? Not like pulled higher.
Shorter length.
Yeah, they wanted a shorter length because I think there was a rule that they had to wear at a certain.
I think it's by knee, right? By your knee?
Yeah, it's supposed to be like 3 inches above their knee, and they would roll it. So they wanted to wear a shorter kilt. It did. I mean, it looks better. Dumb long kilt. You look like a Scotsman, like you're on the golf course. And I have to say that Cabbie was a huge reason that we raised that much money.
No, I just showed up and ate a meal, and I don't know if I had
took your wallet and I took your money.
No, I don't know if I had any etiquette I was sitting at a table with your parents, and were lovely people. And another couple who were also great. My favorite person was this Irish dude.
Yeah, the cop.
Yeah, the cop.
He's an Irish cop.
Yeah, and he plays rec soccer now, and like went to Vegas for like a soccer tournament for like other policemen, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't know how he did, but he was awesome, and I wish I could imitate an Irish accent, but I feel like I would just embarrass myself and offend Irish people.
All Irish people, you'd offend them.
Yeah, because if you start doing like a Jamaican accent or a Trinidadian accent, that would offend me.
Yeah, no doubt, for sure. Well, you could call it racist, but if you did an Irish accent, I have a hard time calling a black guy doing an Irish accent racist.
Yeah,
is that really racist?
I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's something. It's in that
realm.
Yeah. Hey, so before we get to this another part of the conversation, today I saw a clip on, or was it Sunday? It was on CNN about Smoke's Poutineery had a poutine eating contest like Nathan's does the hot dog eating contest in Coney Island.
Yeah.
And it was at Dundas Square here in Toronto, and the person that won ate 19 boxes of poutine.
That's so gross.
How many calories? You're a man you're in unbelievable shape. You just told me about this really hard workout you did where what was it, the 1500? You had to
we did
almost sprint.
We did a time control thing on Saturday. We ran a 1500. It was hard, but
there was
a marathon in Toronto today. It doesn't really compare. But.
Well, but I want to say you're almost exerting. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, okay. I train every day. Anyways, poutine.
Okay, but you're a guy who you have like 4% body fat. How many calories do you think is in 19 boxes of poutine?
It's got to be like at least
2,000 per box.
No, I think probably 1,000, maybe 1,000 per box. Depends on the size of the box, obviously.
Well, it's like a regular fry container.
Yeah, 19. So it was a real eating competition. Like these guys are athletes and they train. I have a hard time calling them athletes, but I mean.
No, I don't think anybody trained. Come on, nobody's training.
They do. I think they do. There's these guys.
The hot dog guys, those guys train.
Yeah, so the
Kobayashi
hot dog guys,
or whatever, they wet the bun so they have a certain strategy to get the food into their stomachs easier, that sort of thing.
Like, I mean, if there's going to be an organized competition, there's going to be prize money, then there's going to be people who are exercising for it.
Come on, I feel like this is kind of a pop-up thing.
Maybe. I don't know. You have to call Smokes.
I do. Okay, but 19 bucks. Just.
I bet you it's probably 15,000 calories, which is like 5 times as much as anybody eats in a day.
It's got to be more. It's got to be 1,000 per box.
You think 20,000 calories?
Yeah, man. At least at the minimum.
Like 7 times as much as a normal person eats. That's crazy. That's yeah. I think they vomit. Wouldn't they vomit after?
Maybe.
Getting it into your stomach is one thing, but like having it go through your duodenum. And
your what?
Your duodenum is like where it goes through before it hits your small intestine.
Don't be smarter than me here, okay?
It's your show, but if I know gastric anatomy.
Is it duodenum? Is it DU? Is that
DUODENUM? Duodenum.
Were you a Kines guy, McMaster?
Yeah.
You were?
Studied gym.
I'm laughing because I'm so embarrassed that I'm so much less intelligent than Adam Vancouver.
You're not less intelligent than
100%. Dude, I don't even know what the duodenum is.
Doesn't
I've
matter.
never heard
You have
the
your own
word.
radio show.
So
You're
what?
intelligent.
I'm a gas bag. All I do is talk.
Yeah, but you have like intelligent conversations
I
regularly.
don't. I'm filled with just like, you know.
Poutine, you're the guy who won. Congratulations to Kevin
I came in
Richards. He won
7th. I
ninth.
came in 7th.
Did you actually do it?
No, I saw it on CNN, and the lady was like,
CNN?
it was on CNN. It was this lady and Don Lemon, and she called it Putin.
Putin.
Not Putin. Putin.
Like the president of prime minister of Russia.
Yeah,
They get across the ocean.
Yes.
Yeah.
That dude, right.
The guy hosting the big winter sports festival.
Right, and he won't, and his mind is from like 1931. Like
Maybe
he's not. Yeah, he hasn't advanced into this millennium.
The thing is, like, he's pretty prejudiced, so yeah. But then he does like the most homoerotic photos.
Oh yeah,
like
just be half naked with a gun.
on a horse, like looking all handsome.
It's Vladimir Putin, right?
Yeah, that's his name.
But but he's like, I mean, he does do these homoerotic, whether advertently or inadvertently, these photos. But the dude has killed people.
Totally. He's
probably
KGB.
with his bare. Yeah, he's KGB, like the secret police. Like probably killed lots of people.
I don't even want to think about it.
So hopefully they don't get. I mean, if they do get iTunes in Russia, and there's
they probably do, and I'm going to the Olympics, so maybe I should watch my mouth.
You're gonna be at Sochi. You're doing stuff with CBC.
Yeah.
Do you know who you're working with?
I'm working with a guy named Ron McLean.
You're working with Ron McLean?
Popular, yeah, on the winter sports scene.
And I mean, it was great that he was at your golf tournament.
Yeah,
and
he helped out a lot. He's amazing.
Ron McLean has anecdotes. I feel like for any given situation, he could be doing a visit to a hospital. He could be showing up at a Tyke minor league hockey game. He could be playing poker in the Bahamas and will have an anecdote for every situation.
He brings like a local newspaper,
it's amazing.
And he pulls stuff out of his pocket, and he's like, "Oh, I got this newspaper from 1984 from the local library in Lethbridge, Alberta." And you're like, "What? Where did you get that from?"
So Ron McLean brought this newspaper clipping, and he spoke about when Adam's local newspaper is the Oakville something Beagle. Oakville.
The Oakville Beagle.
Of course, it's the Beaver. He was telling the story about how Adam and previously Donovan Bailey were featured on the front page of this Oakville Beaver newspaper about a year before your respective Olympic Games when Donovan Bailey won gold in 96, so there was the 95 newspaper, and yours was you won gold in Athens?
Yeah, 04. So I got a silver medal at the Worlds in 03, and he clipped that newspaper article out of the Oakville Beaver.
And then he brought it on with him to the broadcast in Atlanta in 96 and then in Athens in 2004, and then showed the cover of the newspaper.
Just in case. How many would he have? Like, he didn't know I was going to win a race. He probably had one for every possibility. Like, oh, the kid from like Brampton and sailing won, so we're going to pull that like article out of it. Like, I don't know. He must have like a volume of newspapers.
The guy's just
or he's psychic. It's also possible that he's clairvoyant.
What are you and Ron McLean going to be doing?
Well, he's going to be doing the Ron McLean thing, where he, is wise and interviews people with more sort of inspiration and in like this intuitive grace that he has. That sort of he's endeared himself to 35 million Canadians and many, many more individuals in North America through his broadcasting skills. He'll do that, and I'll basically sit next to him and try not to sound like an idiot.
You
and
won't.
Impart
It's impossible.
Some Olympian cred to the whole broadcast.
Some experience. I'm sure your experience is similar to many of those athletes that will be there representing our country because you've gone to 3 games.
Yeah,
and possibly a 4th.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. I got to keep training hard,
And keeping that body fat under 4%.
Yeah, and 19 poutines or Putins.
No, right. Okay, so speaking of articles, you and I, we have an affinity for women.
Sure. We're both fan of the opposite sex.
We're huge fans.
Absolutely.
And your process and your application of your game is much different than mine. I am a rhino, okay, and you're a sly fox.
You are a rhino.
Yeah.
Okay. So what does that mean?
You're a sly.
You come into the room with your.
I'm sweating. I'm loud. I'm abrasive.
You're a pachyderm.
Yeah, I'm knocking things. Pachyderm. I'm knocking things over. I smell.
Yeah.
You know, just like, there's nothing subtle about my game. I'm about as subtle as a chainsaw in church.
Horny nose.
Yeah, but my horn is on the southern hemisphere, but you're a sly fox. You blend in, and you're very. We've been at the same place, okay, and been mingling, and you're just a lot smoother.
That's very kind.
You're a lot
Thank you.
smoother.
So he's like a lubrication for a party. He's party lube.
Man, I was just at Booby Ball.
Oh yeah, I heard that's a great event, and I've never been.
Dude, we should have went.
I'd have gone. Yeah. What was that, Friday?
Oh man, I had a +1.
Oh, you could have brought me as your date.
Oh, Adam, dude, I would have
We
just.
text enough. You could text. You could hook me up.
Oh man,
Adam, what are you doing tonight? Not
but
much.
no, but look, when we texted like this weekend, I thought you were already in Europe. Don't you have an event soon?
No, I don't. I don't know why you thought that.
Dude,
I think you're mixing me up with some other athlete.
I don't know any other. I know hockey dudes.
I'm going to LA in November, so I've got like 4 weeks here. It doesn't matter, man.
I know hockey dudes. I don't know like Olympians.
You know hockey dudes.
Those
you know
are- those-
Olympians.
those-
You're buds with like Martin Reeder and Kalen Kyle.
Okay, fine. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, okay, but Martin's an Olympian. Kaylin plays soccer. I mean, I don't really attribute. I mean, yes, they play.
Of course, she's an Olympian.
I know she's a bronze medals. Yes. But I know when I think of Olympians, I don't think of soccer.
Okay.
It's like I wouldn't think of like softball or like I think of
softball's not an Olympic sport anymore.
anymore.
So.
Okay, I would think of if I knew an archer, if I knew a Greco-Roman wrestler, if I knew someone who an equestrian, what are they?
Equestrian horsey rider.
Horsey rider, then yes, Olympian. Okay, so let me get to the point.
Yeah.
Booby Ball, which raises money for breast cancer research in Canada. It was a ratio alert, and by ratio alert, I mean it was like for a good portion of the night, it was 80-20 women to dudes.
So
unbelievable.
For those who don't know, Booby Ball is one of the biggest events for our sort of demographic, social cohort in Toronto.
Yeah.
A lot of younger, semi-affluent people in Toronto go.
Upwardly mobile.
And it's funny. It's so everybody knows that in terms of in the environment, in the ecosystem of cancer research, breast cancer is a sexy one to get behind as a charity for a social cause because, you know, boobs are popular, and Booby Ball is the most popular cancer event. I do some work with colon cancer, which is not a sexy cancer.
No,
not the cancer's sexy, but it's a difficult one to sell. But I'm considering starting up something called the Booty Ball.
The Booty Ball?
Yeah, it's about your bum.
Wow.
The bum ball.
Well, okay, but the Booty Ball, like, is it like dudes' bums or girls' bums?
Well, it'd be both. I mean, men can get breast cancer too, right? That's an
Can
important.
we?
Of course we can. Men get breast cancer, and men and women get colon cancer, and that's your colon is in your bum. So we could do
I feel like colon cancer is kind of like a male specific thing.
Well, it's in the no, it's not. It's not. Colon cancer is both.
Okay, but I feel like that's a popular one amongst men. It's like we get the
well, prostate cancer.
Prostate's the big one, and then it's colon cancer is another one. But that's kind of okay. But so you might do the Booty Ball.
Yeah.
All right.
But anyways, you're telling us about Booby Ball, so go on. So it's
also,
a high ratio.
Also in Toronto, motion ball is huge. That one raises money for the Special Olympics, and then Etherington's got another one called the Pink Party, another breast cancer. The Pink Party is also it's like a rival to the Booby Ball, but also.
But Booby Ball is not Etherington, is it?
No, Booby Ball is not.
No, the Pink Party is though.
Pink Party is, yeah. Okay, so I'm reading this article, and actually this was sent to me by RT, and RT and I often have these conversations, but it's for people that like yourself. You're not a gas bag, but you respect a high level of conversation. You need to be unlike me. You need to, when you connect with the opposite sex, you need to be engaged intellectually. That's the kind of dude that you are. Me, I'm completely visual. I'm the rhino. You're the sly fox. I just pick up on smells.
I don't know. You're giving yourself.
No, I pick up on smells.
Pigeonholing yourself.
Well, dude,
you
that's
like
fine.
to talk to women. Like, don't say that you don't like to be intellectually stimulated, and it's just all about the looks and the body. That's not Cabbie. I don't know who you're talking about. It's not the guy I know.
Maybe I'm an actor. Maybe I'm a great.
You are a great actor. Yeah.
So there's this article in Vanity Fair called "Friends Without Benefits," and it's fascinating because it's essentially the whole piece is about the deterioration in the art of conversation, and this is for the millennials. But I feel it in our generation also. Like so many people when they're communicating with others, it's strictly via text. I'd say, I mean, how many times do you use the phone in a week?
Yeah, not very often.
Like you can count on both hands?
I probably use the phone, more than 10 times a week. But I mean, I'm not so much concerned about texting. I'm more concerned about how often we have screens in our faces. Like, I'm always looking at my phone or a computer screen, and less the television. But like, we're just enamored by screens.
That blue light from a phone or from your iPad or from your
somebody
MacBook.
wants me. Oh, somebody wants me. Oh, somebody wants me. It's like, it's just way too much. And I don't read books as much as I read stuff on my computer or my phone anywhere. I read the article you sent me, this one. I read it like mostly on my phone. So weird. We're just constantly. I'm sure my eyes are like gonna fall out of my skull eventually because I'm staring at plasma screens all the time.
So the first story in this article on Vanity Fair is it's called the Tinder Guy. So Tinder is this app, and I'm sure you guys all know about Tinder. I was introduced to Tinder in the summertime at Kevin Weeks at a party, and I'm going to bring this up with Kevin when I have him in here. This guy was saying, "Cab, have you heard about Tinder?" I'm like, "I've heard about it, but what is it?" So Tinder is this app where you can locate other, I guess, singles or people that are out to just have a good time in your area. So it geolocates where you are, and then you have to log in via your Facebook, and then you can connect with other people. So you're just basically, you're looking at your screen and you're swiping left to right or right to left. And if you like someone, you click on their picture, and if they like you, and if they're going through their photos and they like you, then a dialogue box opens. So like, Cassandra wants to connect, whatever the message is on the. I don't have Tinder, but this is what I've been told about Tinder. So anyway, in this,
I also do not have Tinder, but
are you tempted?
No.
I'm curious about Tinder.
I'm curious maybe, but not for my own purposes. I don't know. I think it's very meat market-ish. Like it's kind of base. I'm not judging anybody, but like I like meeting people in person. So.
But that's the era that I feel like that's how we grew up though. Like we grew up in an era where, do you remember like going somewhere and having to write a girl's number on a napkin or a piece of paper?
Yeah, of course. Or looking a girl's number up in the phone book.
Oh yeah, dude.
Isn't that weird? And like that was a good skill. That it wasn't like just a Facebook friend request. It was like, I like this girl. I'm going to look her up in the phone book. Her parents' name. I know her, like her last name.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm going to look her up. As if you
so
didn't
many
do that.
hours doing that.
Yeah, sure.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, you look her up and you go, hi, is Stephanie there? Yeah, sure. Can I tell her who's calling? Oh, it's Adam from school. Hi, Stephanie. It's Adam from like English class. Oh,
right.
Hi.
Yeah.
This is awkward, and then your heart rate's like 190, and you're trying to like not sweat through the phone so she can like sense that you're so nervous. You're like, hi, I'm just wondering if you would like to see a movie with me because Forrest Gump is in theaters. And
I remember in university you had to call girls.
Yeah, I got a phone in university, like a cell phone.
Like a cell phone?
But we didn't start texting until like I was almost done. I think we started texting in Canada in 2004 or 5. I was thinking about it the other day.
In this story, this guy and this girl, they meet at the mall. And things are like, you're always your digital self is like the best version of yourself. It's like the funny, charming, most handsome version of yourself. So in this story, it was that. She's like, oh, his face looked kind of fatter, and he kind of looked like the same guy, but there was no charm, there was no wit, and it was kind of awkward. At one point, he kind of held my hand as we're walking around the mall, but it just felt really weird, and I just kind of wanted to get out of there. So, like, are you noticing that there is a sort of a deterioration in how we interact with people, even people in our own age group? I feel worse for the millennials because their communication seems only digital, but we still have, you and I, or people our age, still have some face-to-face interaction.
I think there's a very valuable, like, human skill that I don't think will be lost, but I think it might be underdeveloped in people who learn to primarily communicate via 140 character blips and blaps and whatever. Like I think, like you're saying, the art of conversation may be, I'm not going to say it's going to get lost, but I do think there's potential for it to be underdeveloped. And the art of conversation, I think, is very important, right? It's the way we express ourselves, it's the way we interact and everything. And this thing about Tinder on that article was that, that's how they met. They were in a they're in the same neighborhoods. They went on Tinder, and you flip through these pictures of people. It's just for hooking up. It's based on Grindr, right? Which is a gay men's app, which is the exact same thing.
Here's another thing about the article, and it basically talks about how we feel the need to be validated by other people, but externally, i.e. Instagram and Facebook. And the crazy thing that this article sort of exposes is how girls are very used to being stalked and also doing stalking. It's like commonplace. And this is what the article talks about. If a girl, say her name is Amanda likes Peter. Peter doesn't like Amanda that much, but say Peter likes Stephanie. So Amanda will start to stalk Stephanie, and this is commonplace. Amanda will start to dress kind of like Stephanie in order to get the attention from Peter, because Amanda is stalking Stephanie's Instagram or Stephanie's Facebook page. And it's like, and this is kind of this crazy development that is commonplace with these millennials. And another thing is girls will know how much a guy likes them by what kind of
how
feedback,
they comment and how often they like on their Facebook.
On their Facebook, yeah. So like,
that's what the article is saying.
She puts up a profile picture. The guy might like it. The guy might leave a comment. She's like, oh, okay, this guy likes me. She puts up another one. He likes that one. He comments on that one. But maybe she puts up the third one and he doesn't really comment. So she's like, oh, this guy doesn't like me anymore. And that's how they measure their either popularity or their self-worth.
Yeah, and that's the thing about self-worth. It's about clicks, but the problem with it, the self-worth thing from that is it's entirely visual. And it's entirely, subjective, visual, stimulated like crap, and which is just what we think of as hot or sexy or good or like attractive is all based on what we see in the media. And for kids, unfortunately, what this article is talking about is specifically for young men. They say 93% of young men under 18 have been exposed to online pornography, and it influences.
Yeah, they have.
Influences, of course, right? Influences what they think is normal. So girls start trying to conform to that ideal of sexy and normal, and then we're basing like all of the worth that we put on a female based on like what she looks like in a sports bra when she's doing that silly duck face pose.
Right, the selfie.
It's terrible. I think it's terrible because it's definitely reinforcing a lot of stereotypes. It's making a lot of young women conform to something that's impossible or totally unnecessary, and I worry about. I go to the canoe club. We talked about the canoe club, and there's lots of young kids and teenagers at the canoe club, and I look at them, and they've always all got their phones out and stuff before and after practice, and I want to make sure they're like happy and healthy and conducting themselves in a manner that's going to contribute to their happiness and the social well-being of all them and their friends and everything. And this article was a little bit distressing, I think.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of class. Dr. Van Koeverden shuts the chapter on yet another valuable life lesson. That's why he's my friend, because I learned from this dude.
Is that too sermon-y?
No, it's like, but you're being honest though. That's like that's a real organic thought.
You sent me some required learning. For reading. You were like, hey, read this article, and then come in, we'll talk about it. So, and I thought it was great. It is a good article. I don't read Vanity Fair every week, so I read it, and that's what I got out of it.
The article is called "Friends Without Benefits" on VanityFair.com, written by Nancy Jo Sales, who I think was the writer who inspired the movie Bling Ring.
Okay.
Which was about like these 5 or 6 high school students in these affluent communities in Los Angeles that would steal shoes and purses and jewelry from famous stars like Paris Hilton. They went to Paris. They stole like stuff from her like 8 times. And this obsession with celebrity culture was what Bling Ring was kind of about symbolically. Great movie. I think this is the same writer, but I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong. I don't have a fact checker on this podcast, but I need a fact checker in real life.
The interesting thing is, we can check it after. We can edit this. The interesting thing, the majority of this, the majority of this article is written via like direct quote with teenagers.
Anecdotal.
So it's people do that follow a teen thing on Twitter. I follow a lot of teenagers. I follow kids.
Do you actually?
Well, I follow like my stepbrother, my stepsister. I follow kids from the canoe club, and so I mean, I like to sort of have a glimpse into their like lives and what they talk about and everything. And they are my friends. They're my teammates. They're my family. So I mean, I don't like, obviously not because I'm creeping on kids. That's not what I'm saying. Like it's interesting to see how different age people use different social media.
Adam Van Koeverden, thanks for stopping by My Guy Mondays.
My pleasure, man. Anytime.
Please return.
It's his favorite day. What could make Cabbie feel this way? My guy, my guy, my guy. Talking about My Guy Mondays.
The first time we exchanged numbers, it was about 6 or 7 years ago. We were on a plane coming back from somewhere. Maybe it was Vancouver. Maybe it was Halifax. There's a good chance I was hungover. His name is Ryan Grant, also known as RG, and one of the premier trainers in the fight game in our entire country. His gym is Grant's MMA Gym in Toronto, and he's in studio now. RG.
Yep.
Can you call yourself a real man if you haven't been punched in the face at least once in your life?
You can and you can't. A lot of guys are just, I get a lot of real people that come in the gym, just regular recreational people that will be a plumber or a lawyer, dentist, and they'll specifically tell me, listen, I love the workout. I love how these guys approach the sport of boxing and how their physique looks and the preparation of of getting ready for a fight. But I don't want to get punched in the face.
But they don't want to get punched in the face.
They don't want to get punched in the face. So we have a regular exercise called body work. So it's like body sparring. So it's like from neck to waist. You got to find pockets to get shots off. So a lot of guys will put their hands, they could just cross their hands.
Cross their hands like as though they're forming an X over their bodies.
Their tits. They're protecting their breasts in a sense, right? But also when punches slide up, when you're sweating, they'll slide off the glove and you'll get touched on the jaw.
Okay.
So you get that same lawyer freaking out. Yeah, man, you hit me in my face. What the hell's wrong with you? I'm like, listen, if you get your hands in the proper defensive way, instead of trying to do the Joe Frazier, George Foreman type of defense, it wouldn't slide off your gloves a little bit. So, in relevance to your question,
have you been punched in your face?
Oh, plenty of times. Plenty of times.
I've been punched in my face. Probably not enough in my lifetime. I recently interviewed Matt Ryan, the quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons, and asked him the same question. I'm like, it was a real man. My whole line of questioning was about being a real man, and he's like a leader of men, that sort of thing.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, I think you'd at least once in your life. And if the way that this interview is going, you might get one today.
The thing is, it doesn't have to be a punch in the face. I think you just have to have that pop on the nose where the eyes start watering a little bit, even if it's a ball that hits you in the face, so you're like, whoa. It's that same type of feeling if you haven't been punched in the face. It's the ball in the nose type watering your eyes.
Now, when you were growing up in Montreal, did you ever have to fight like a hockey dude? Because hockey fighting is so much different than other fighting, because it's very specific.
Right.
Hand goes over your head.
Right.
You're pulling your T-shirt or I suppose jersey on the ice over the person's head, and that's your advantage, and then you go to work.
The thing is, a lot of hockey guys would come to the gym and train. I'll get them even now, being older and working with guys, but they can't get away with that type of pulling over your shirt type of mechanism. Yeah. But it forces them to actually work a little bit harder because they're so used to grabbing the inner of their shirt and pulling them into punches, and they try to do that in the ring, and you can't do that with gloves on.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So you see how fast they drop the gloves when they get to get that grip to start pushing the fight on, to try to pull the fight in the way they like to do it. But at the same time, a lot of hockey guys will make that there's a lot of hockey guys right now in Canada that make that transition to UFC or say MMA, mixed martial arts.
Ooh, what do you mean?
There's Steve Bosse. He was like I want to say one of those farm league hockey tough guys.
Okay, yeah.
That's well known in the Quebec region. That's a big MMA star in Quebec. That's virtually almost there to get signed to the UFC.
Oh,
you know?
wow, okay.
So there's those guys. I heard George Larac, who was.
I think it was boxing, or maybe Don Brashear was boxing.
Yeah, Brashear. I think it was Brashear that's trying to do the mixed martial arts thing.
Yeah.
But because they have that grip, they like that inner clinching. It's a different ball game, but you have to have a certain type of leather on your skin to really feel that compact of getting cracked in the mouth, you know?
RG, what did you make of the bloodbath that was UFC 166? Most specifically, Gilbert Melendez versus Diego Sanchez.
anytime Diego Sanchez fights, it's always going to be a bloodbath. He has so much bad scar tissue that I think every time, like, he has a cut over his right eyebrow or his left
eyebrow, yeah.
And man, that cut is so I'm around the game every day. It's the nastiest cut around the business. Every time he fights, that cut always opens up. But the thing is, I was having a debate with a couple of my fighters. They all text me, "Oh, now you see this man? How could he never cut this guy?" Because he goes balls to the wall every time he fights. He's always in.
Oh, you're saying why hasn't the UFC cut him? Because he's lost. He's
lost like back-to-back fights, or he has you can see if you look at his track sheet in the UFC that he has maybe 2 or 3 losses in a row. But every fight with this guy Sanchez, it's always a show, and he's nearly took this guy out that's ranked to fight for a title again.
That's right.
Last night, so. Man, it's always blood with that guy, but you're always going to get a prime time performance when he's in the cage.
So for those people that didn't see it, in UFC 166, which is Saturday at the Toyota Center in Houston, he fought. It was a middleweight, I think, or whatever.
No, it was
156.
155 is lightweight.
Lightweight. So this dude had a gash over his left eye. By the end of it, I mean, I think the gash opened up in the end of the first round. Second round, it was huge. Third round is even wide. It was probably 4 to 5 inches over his left eye, and it was deep. Like, it was a good, like, if you're going to put your pinky finger into his forehead, is at least to the first knuckle. That's how deep.
Past the knuckle.
That's the knuckle. That's how deep it was. So, okay, Ryan, if you're in the corner, okay, and I've seen you at UFC events, I saw, and one of your dudes, Sean Pearson, is one of the toughest men alive. Like, that dude, and that dude is just all, I know at a certain point for fighters, it just becomes about will. And just your will overpowering the other person's will. You're both tired. You're dead tired. You are gassed. Yeah. But at some point, when you're the corner man, you're looking at your fighter who's getting beat, and you just got to be like, you want him to turn it around, but then you have to consider his safety, because he just knows to fight to the end, because that's how he's trained. But in this fight versus Gilbert Melendez, Diego Sanchez was taking so many punches, probably 200 or 300 more punches than he delivered.
Yeah.
Like, as you're watching that, are you thinking, why isn't his corner, like, I don't know, is there such thing as throwing in the towel in UFC? I don't know, or MMA?
You've never seen it. And
I've never seen it. You're right. I've never seen it. I've seen it in boxing, but never in UFC.
Honestly,
or MMA.
We're talking about Sean's fight, and I know the one you're talking about where he looked like it was over.
Yeah, I think it was his last one, or second last fight. Yeah.
We've had 2 scares back to back, so I don't know which one was which, right? In the last round, and it's only certain guys are built differently. You know what I mean? Not certain guys who just get hit and fold right away just because they just don't want to feel no more of that pressure. Certain guys will feel it. They don't know where they're at, but still trying to swim in that deep sea and trying to survive, and the shark is still biting your leg. You get what I'm saying?
Or your face.
And you get away.
Right.
You get away.
Yeah.
That fight, as a god, you talking about throwing in the towel? I picked it up at a point, and I looked at Adrian Woolley, which is another guy I trained, that's Sean Pearson's one of our training buddies, and they've known each other since, like, grade school wrestling. And I go, Adrian, I'm going to stop the fight, man. And he goes, you can't. I'm like, what do you mean I can't? He goes, you can't do this. You'd be the first guy in history to do it. You can't do this. And as it was happening, Sean started to, like, work off his back a little bit to survive. And dude, at the end of that fight, I had to tell him, I'm like, I don't have it in me anymore to see you go through certain situations like this, especially when I have a good relationship with my fighters. I'm not just a coach with my guys. I try to be their compadre. I'm not just the guy that's looking out for you and giving you instruction in your corner. We have to have a rapport. You have to know that it's a brotherhood. I'm your dad in a sense. I gotta look out for you. I gotta look out for your best interest in your safety outside of this. I preach to my guys, Cabbie, every day in the gym. We're gonna walk in looking the same way walking out. We look cool. I said, I don't look like I got ever beaten up in my life.
No, you're still quite pretty.
But that's the whole point. We beat up guys. You know what I'm saying? We deliver the beating. We don't get beat up. And I have these guys to make them understand that. And Sean also is an older cat that started boxing with me. And he's had an MMA career prior to this. I was with him a few fights before he got signed to the UFC. And he's a wrestler. No one ever sees him showcase his wrestling skills.
He stands up and he goes like toe-to-toe with dudes.
Certain guys can't do that. You get what I'm saying? You get a wrestler like a Cain Velasquez that will throw a couple shots but close that distance and say, you know what? I'm going to give you what I'm best at. And the thing is with Sean, I see it in the gym all the time. He's an all-around fighter, but because he's so reliant with his boxing and he's good at it, he just relies on it, and people don't think, he's just. We go to the fights and they say, oh, Sean Percy's a striker, and I crack up because he's terrible to me.
As a striker,
he's not. There's nothing striking about Sean. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But because he does so much more than the rest of the league, and the rest of the fighters in the organization. He is a striker. He's a boxing guy, stand-up dude, and he could throw hands with guys better than most.
So the fight that we're referring to is UFC 161. He fought Kenny Robinson. Was that the closest that you came to throwing, quote-unquote, throwing in the proverbial towel?
This one, and there's a fight prior to that. I think he fought Hecht, I think his last name was, where it was another scare where I was like, yo, Sean, you got to stop this, man. I can't deal with you going through that type of frantics during your fights, man. Like, you're doing a good job. You're in control 2 rounds. Lance Benoist. And then after, it's like you almost, okay, let me try something different, guys. And you get cracked with an elbow or a guy does something to you. I don't know. I can't stomach that anymore. I can't do it, you know?
Okay, so you mentioned Cain Velasquez. So Cain Velasquez, as the champion, took on Junior Dos Santos. Cain Velasquez Junior Dos Santos is the only person to ever beat Cain Velasquez, and that was the first time they fought. I think it was on Fox. I believe it was Fox's first network event, and it ended in under 60 seconds. Yeah. Dos Santos caught, and Dos Santos has one shot knockout power.
Right hand, yeah.
And he doesn't look like that powerful of a guy. He doesn't have the body that Cain Velasquez has.
Right.
But he has that power, and weirdly, Roy Nelson, Daniel Cormier had a great fight against.
Yeah.
He was relentless as Cain Velasquez. Okay, so the Cain Velasquez, Junior Dos Santos. This is the second time now we've seen Junior Dos Santos' face look disfigured.
Right.
He looked like a different human being.
Cain is an animal. And I mean,
RG, how do you deal with it when the dude's how are you telling guys, to go back out? You're instructing, you're giving them some kind of instruction, but they're coming back looking worse than they went out.
It's a thing of, you have to, if you're my fighter, Cabbie, you got to trust me. You have to trust what I'm trying to tell you, or I shouldn't be there. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Every fighter goes through it doesn't go your way. Certain guys in the gym, for instance, you'll have a bad day training. You'll get your ass handed in everything. If it's messing up and skipping, have a bad shadow boxing where you feel like elbows feeling a little bit messed up. You start sparring with a guy and you get beat up. You start doing pad exercise with me and the rhythm isn't there, and you're just like, yo, what the hell's going on today? Everyone has bad days, right?
Yeah.
If you have those days in the gym and you go into the fight and it's bad, you've been through this trial before.
Right.
So you have to, it's adversity, man. Your wife screwed on you. You going to kill your wife and go to jail, or you going to try to work this thing out and try to do this civil?
you try to work it out in the ring and just punish your opponent.
You can't do that either.
Oh, in the octagon, yeah.
You can't smash your wife.
No, of course not. No, you
you
just have to turn your back and just go yell at somebody else.
You have to find that strategy and that fine line and try to making it work for you.
Okay, so RG, it's round 3. Dos Santos is cut over his left eye is starting to close.
Yep.
I believe the doctor had already come into the ring to observe, to look at his eye. She's doing the thing where, okay, look to your left, look to your right, with just the one eye, because his left eye is starting to close because he's taking a combination of right hands from Cain Velasquez up against the cage, and he's also getting headbutts. Cain is just rubbing his big head against his face against Dos Santos' his face, and that's also applying pressure to his face. So it's okay. So third round,
right?
So he comes, and then how would you advise? advise him,
Now his corner, not to cut you off, but his corner now, if you saw that when he came back out, he started to throw these short elbows.
Yeah, which were
touching him.
Which the left elbow across Kane's face.
Because he has to cover this eye. His corner didn't tell him nothing wrong. He tried to keep that hand up, short elbow anytime Kane was coming in.
Right.
But you have to try to do something.
So what RG was doing was, with his left hand, was covering, if you're putting his hand in sort of a glove formation, kind of covering his left eye, which was taking the most damage, and then throwing a left elbow from that position. So you're blocking your eye from getting any more punishment, and you're also being on the offensive.
And if the shot is coming off like Kane's throwing that right hand, he's got to either direct it short with that elbow or absorb the block, then come through with that elbow to try to slow his ass down a little bit. But because Kane is just so relentless, his cardio is so crazy, Dos Santos couldn't do nothing about it. In that type of sense, when you have a guy, we call those guys in the gym the choo-choo trains, those the Jason, the Jason type guys.
Yeah, he was like Jason, just kept coming.
Right? The zombies.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
The Walking Dead.
You got to tie those guys up like a goat. You get what I'm saying? You got to hold these guys up. You got to tie them up. You gotta slow them down. And once you start tying them up, he's got to be. And this is all strategy. This is a bunch of things. They should have known this from the first fight because it's the same approach that Kane took by just charging in, throwing punches, charging in, trying to take him down. He had to drop his level a little bit, put his head in Kane's face a little bit, so Kane feels that that grindingness across his face, and keep him cool a sense. So I got to readjust and recalculate my approach on how I'm going to come in instead of, this guy ain't doing nothing to me, I'm going to keep coming in. And that's what happened. He just broke the guy's will, and that's what happens in the fight game.
Cain Velasquez defended his title, and he beat Junior Dos Santos in a decision after 5 rounds. I should mention earlier when we were talking about Gilbert Melendez versus Diego Sanchez, Gilbert Melendez won via decision unanimously after 3 rounds. So far this year, I mean, I guess we can go back to the John Jones Gustafsson fight, which is UFC 165 here in Toronto, which at that point a lot of people were saying was the fight of the year. I certainly think it was the fight of the year.
Yeah.
Does this Melendez-Sanchez fight or this Velasquez-Dos Santos fight, in your opinion, take the top fight of the year? Does it now have fight of the year honors 2013 with 2 months left in the calendar?
Right now, to me, I still think the Jones-Gustafsson fight is the fight of the year because those guys are looking like basketball players holding their shorts at some point, taking that breather.
Oh, were they ever?
You know what I'm saying?
And they're going blow for blow.
5 rounds, too. You know what I mean? That was 5 rounds.
And everything that was at stake, Jones's legacy, his title,
everything. His foot was broken after the first round, and he kept fighting.
Yeah.
You can't take that away. To me, that was the fight of the year right now, and it showed a lot of people that aren't fans of John Jones. They think he's just a pretty boy, just an athletic freak of nature that's capable of doing a lot of things that certain fighters can't do. He has some balls. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know what? My foot's was broken.
Yeah.
No one knew my foot was broken. I was still throwing the kicks. I was still popping this guy with shots and moving. And won. You know what I'm saying? So that right there, and take nothing away from Melendez Sanchez last night. If that fight didn't happen, Jones, that would have been right there. And that could be a neck and neck. That could even go both back to back fight of the year combo fight of the year. But the Jones fight was actually it was the dramatics of the fight that made it monumental for this year.
Since you're from Montreal, I'll get you out of here on this. What is your relationship like with George St. Pierre?
I'm tight with George. I mean, I've been tighter with George when he wasn't a fighter, like as he is now, than he is now.
How did you guys even meet?
George used to be a bouncer at this spot.
Come on, are you kidding? That dude is 5'8".
He used to bounce.
5'8", he sounds like Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Named Fuzzy's in the South Shore, right? I think it wasn't a long gig, but I guess he was out there for a little bit. And I really didn't know George used to fight, right? So years gone by, and I'm like, seen George.
So do you speak French to him?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah. All right.
So years go by, and George doing this thing.
What year, when is this? Fuzzy's, like 2000?
This is...
or 98?
I'll say, 99. Cause I moved to Toronto 2000. So, yeah, I'd say 97 to 98-ish.
Okay.
We go out to South Shore, pick up some girls out there and see what's popping. But then George is also fighting in those leagues, the UCCs. UGCs and all these other small organizations in Quebec. I knew that.
So this is mixed martial arts, not like boxing or anything.
Right,
just
mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
And killing it and getting his way into the UFC and doing his thing. And then he lost his fight against Sarah in Houston, and then we reconnected because I was in Houston the same time, seeing the fight. And he started working with my brothers at the time for I set him up to start working with my brother Howard and Otis out in Montreal.
Okay, yeah.
And
Otis was the Olympian, yeah?
Howard was the Olympian. Howard was the captain of the Olympic team in '88.
The boxing team. So that's him, Egerton Marcus.
And Lennox Lewis. Scotty Olsen, I believe.
Right. Oh my God.
That team was stacked. Kurt Johnson, I believe, was there that year.
Okay.
Chris Johnson could have been there that year.
Right.
The real stacked team, man. So then GSP started working with Otis and Howard in Montreal in boxing.
In boxing in the early 2000s.
Right, and that was when my brother had a great stable of pro guys, the world champions out of the gym doing their thing, and it was good work, constant work for George. But George just keeps evolving, going out to Vegas, messing with Freddie Roach, messing with Stefan LaRouche, with Lucien Boutte and these guys, and always raising his game. Now, next month, he's got a tough fight with Hendricks.
Johnny Hendricks, who just throws bombs.
But I think George is just that matador that might just know. His timing is impeccable, and George knows how to read certain guys. And once they make that mistake, you're on your back, and it's too late.
That's true.
He's the greatest strategist when it comes to mixed martial arts. People say, "Oh, George, they shouldn't call him Rush anymore because he doesn't do all the Rush explosives type of stuff." He made his name off of that. He doesn't have to do it anymore. Now he has to be a scientist and a mixed martial artist. He's not a wrestler, and he wrestles out of everybody every time he fights. And wrestlers, like real life Division I, top tier, Olympic style wrestlers. And George wrestles the hell out of everybody. To the point, this is going to be his toughest fight. After this fight, George needs to say, you know what? Give me a Silva fight. Give me a Evans type of fight. One of these fights that's going to be, oh yeah? George's going to fight this guy? To solidify his real legacy. He's already a legend. He's already going to go down the Hall of Fame. But a lot of people it's like Michael Jordan. So he stops dunking and he starts popping threes in people's face. He's not the same player. No, but he's throwing one more point extra every night by dropping threes in your face and showing its diversity of his game.
Yeah.
Instead of just being that same explosive type of fighter, man.
I feel like I was in the lab today, RG. Thank you very much. You mentioned scientists. You are the scientist of the sweet science. So thank you for coming by on My Guy Mondays. My pleasure.
Thank you for listening to Cabbie Presents, the podcast.